Good afternoon, Bookfighters. It is Tuesday, May 3rd, and I left my cat in here with me. Hang on. There we go. It's Tuesday, May 3rd, and there was no video last week. Sorry about that. Something wrong with the webcam. Tuesday was crazy, just all kinds of bullshit. And if you notice, we are actually on a real camera today. It's not my camera. I did not get a new camera yet, because I'm poor, but Paige my friend Paige has let me borrow her camera. I don't know how long, for how long. She didn't give me the cord to charge it, so we'll see. But for now, real camera. Excellent, right? Okay, so the book that I read last week was, or well, the week before last, I guess, was Tortall and Other Lands by Tamora Pierce, which is, you know, just a collection of short stories kind of based in and around the land of Tortall, where the rest of her series takes place, and it was a great little collection of short stories. I mean, you know, I wasn't expecting anything, you know, earth-shattering plot-wise. I mean, they're just short stories, but definitely an excellent addition to put next to the rest of them on my shelf. And if you're a fan of hers, then you should read them. And even if you've never read anything by her, you could read them. They would make sense, but you wouldn't get the same kind of like emotional nostalgia like you get when you read them if you've read her previous series, because there are some recurring characters that are kind of fun to recognize and pinpoint where they are and when it takes place and stuff like that. In addition to the short stories that were there were also a couple of contemporary YA pieces in here, which I was kind of leery about reading because she's never done like actual like contemporary YA, but they were good. They were very good. So that just kind of shows that, you know, just because you're a fantasy writer doesn't mean you can't, you know, do anything else. So yeah, excellent. The book that I read last week that I didn't get to tell you about was Getting the Girl by Marcus Zusak. I've had this book for a while, never read it, just kind of been sitting there, so I decided I should probably read it. And I'm glad I did, because it was absolutely excellent. Marcus Zusak is also the author of The Book Thief. I've read that previously, and it was also the book that I recommended for Julia for our Secret Santa thing. But Marcus Zusak is just one of those authors where everything that comes out of that guy's head is just gold. Like, I've never read anything by him that I didn't like. Be it, you know, contemporary, YA, adult, you know, historical fiction, children's, whatever. All of it. Anything that he writes is automatically good. And totally no exception. It's not very complex plot-wise, and it's not very, you know, vocabulary, language-driven, and it's not even very character-driven. Like, the characters are good, but they're not, you know, super, aside from the main character, the other characters aren't, you know, deep and complex and thought-provoking, but there's just something about the way that it's written and just the style that it's done in, and the way it's broken up between narration and then the main characters, like journal entries. They're not really journal entries, but there's just something about it that is so, it just kind of gets into your head, and it, you know, burrows in there for a long stay, because, you know, you start, it was really hard to put down, it's just something about it. I don't know what it is, but it was absolutely an incredible book. When I finished it, it was one of those, like, just kind of had to sit there and let it absorb, because it was so kind of just put you in a weird place, and you kind of had to get back to reality. But it was very, very good. Yeah. So then the book that I'm going to read this week is Pale Demon by Kim Harrison. I've been putting it off, and it's brand new, and I want to read it, so I am, because that's how that works. I did draw names for the book swap. I tweeted them to you guys Sunday night. but I didn't hear anything back from any of you, so I don't know if you got them or if they got lost in your Twitter feed. So I'm gonna go ahead and, you know, kind of go over what the order was, and I'll put it down in the description too, just so that it's somewhere like in print and not, you know, lost out in the internet somewhere. So the order was Dan picks for me, I pick for Sarah, Sarah picks for Julia, Julia picks for Katie, and then Katie picks for Dan. And that'll all be in the description. So yeah, that was the order. I don't have my book picked for you, Sarah, yet. I have to think about it, but so I figure we do it next week since I didn't get my video up last week. Good, awesome, sorry about that. But yeah, so Katie's question was about visualizing while, like, what we're reading while we're reading it. And I do visualize while I read, but it's kind of hard to explain. I'll be reading something and I'll see it like playing out, like sort of like a movie in my head, but I'm still like acknowledging that I'm reading. So it's almost like kind of video, like this picture and the text like superimposed over each other in my head. And then I don't realize that I'm doing it until I stop doing it. So if there's like a noise or I get distracted from reading and I look up and it kind of breaks my train of thought, then that's when I realize that I was visualizing, because then all of a sudden the picture is gone. But while I'm doing it, I don't consciously think about, you know, conjuring characters' faces up or, you know, building the setting in my head. It just kind of happens. So yeah, it's, you know, crazy. Same thing when I'm writing. You know, I'll be visualizing it and then I'll be typing and then poof, gone. And then, yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I don't pretend to understand it. It just happens. It's always been like that. I don't get it. So I don't think there were any other questions. In fact, I'm pretty sure there were not any other questions. I don't have any questions for you guys. Sorry. But yeah, so Sarah, I will see you tomorrow, and the rest of you I will see next Tuesday. Fairly well, Bookfighters.